My entitled wife hosted a dinner party and forgot to set a place for me and laughed. "We forget boring people," I replied. "No problem. Have fun." Then I went to the breaker and cut off the power to the entire house and left. She was left frantically calling me from a dark, ruined party. I've always been the quiet one. The stable guy. The one who remembers to pay the mortgage, who fixes the garbage disposal on a Sunday night. The one who listens patiently while my wife, Pamela, recounts every little drama from her friend group. I thought that was our dynamic, you know? I was the foundation, she was the beautifully decorated house. Turns out I wasn't the foundation. I was the doormat she wiped her feet on before welcoming guests. It was last Friday night. Pamela was hosting another one of her dinner parties, and these weren't gatherings for our friends. No, these were auditions. She was always trying to impress this circle of people with more money, more connections, more of everything. People with names like Nicole and Brandon. I usually made a quick appearance, nursed a beer in the corner, and then just vanished into my study. It was a tax I paid for a peaceful life. Or so I thought. This time felt different. I'd had a brutal week at work, and honestly, I was actually looking forward to a decent meal, even if it meant listening to another lecture on crypto or oat milk lattes. I walked into the dining room. It was buzzing. 6 guests, all laughing as Pamela fawned over them. The table was perfect, a work of art, gleaming silverware, linen napkins, a floral arrangement that probably cost more than our weekly groceries. But something was wrong. I counted the place settings. 7. 6 guests, plus Pamela. That's 7. I looked around. Maybe my spot was in the kitchen? A side table? Nothing. Just an empty space where I was supposed to be. Pamela saw me. She gave me this smile, tight, bright, all teeth. It's the smile she uses right before she says something she thinks is clever and devastating. "Oh, Justin," she said, her voice just loud enough to cut through the chatter. Shoot, I completely forgot. Her friend Nicole, who always looked at me like I was a piece of furniture she wanted to replace, let out a little laugh. A titter. I kept my face perfectly neutral. "Forgot what?" Pamela's smile widened. She waved a hand vaguely at the full table. "To set a place for you. Silly me." Then she turned to her audience, her real audience, and laughed. It was a performance. I guess we just forget about the boring people. A wave of snickering went around the table. Not a real laugh. Just appreciative little noises. The sound people make when they know they're supposed to find the mean joke funny. And in that moment, something inside me didn't break. It didn't shatter. It just clicked. Like a heavy tumbler falling into place in a bank vault. This wasn't a mistake. It was a message, a public announcement. I wasn't part of the life she was building. I was just the guy paying for the paint and canvas, and I was expected to disappear when the masterpiece was on display. I looked right at her smug face, just waiting. Waiting for me to get flustered, to argue, to make a scene she could turn into a story later. I gave her nothing. I smiled back, a small, calm smile. "No problem," I said. My voice was perfectly even. "You all have fun." And I turned, and I walked out of the dining room. I could feel their eyes on my back. The awkward silence was so loud you could hear it. But I didn't go to my study. No, I walked down the hall and into the garage. The house we lived in, the house I paid most of the mortgage on, had a big breaker box on the wall. I'd installed it myself, labeled every switch. I opened the cool metal door. Main power, kitchen, living room, dining room, master bedroom. My hand was steady. I flipped every single switch to the off position. Click, 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 click. I left one on, just one, for the garage freezer and the extra fridge. I'm not a monster. I wasn't going to let hundreds of dollars of food spoil. This was about a message, not vandalism. From the dining room, I heard a shriek. Then a chorus of confused, alarmed voices as the entire house plunged into absolute disorienting blackness. I didn't wait around for Act 2. I got in my car, backed out of the driveway, closed the garage door behind me, and as I drove down our quiet street, my phone lit up. "Pamela?" I let it ring. It lit up again and again and again. I found a hotel about 20 minutes away, checked in, connected to their Wi-Fi, and the texts, they flooded in. "Justin, what the hell did you do? The power is out. Is this some kind of joke? Turn it back on right now. My guests are freaking out. Nicole spilled red wine all over her white dress. Justin, I am serious. You are being a childish asshole. You've ruined everything. Are you even there? Pick up the phone. Please, Justin, just come back and fix it. We'll talk about it later. I'm sorry, okay? Just please. I read every single one, and I felt nothing. Just a strange, cold clarity. That last text said it all, didn't it? An apology used as a key to get what she wanted. I put my phone on silent, face down on the nightstand, ordered a burger from room service, turned on the TV. For the first time in years, my house was dark and chaotic, and I was somewhere quiet and at peace. Update 1, I slept for 8 solid hours. The kind of sleep I thought I'd never get again. I woke up to a notification graveyard on my phone. 37 missed calls from Pamela. A novel's worth of text cycling through every stage of manipulation. Fury, feigned concern. Are you okay? I was worried something happened to you. And right back to pure rage. I didn't reply. I knew Pamela's routine. Knew it by heart. After a night like that, she'd sleep late. Drag herself to a 10 a.m. hot yoga class. And then go to a long, gossipy brunch with her friends to dissect the crazy thing her husband did. Her predictability was her greatest weakness. At 10:15 a.m., I checked out and drove home. The house was empty, just as I thought. The front door was unlocked. She must have left in a panic. Inside was a disaster zone. Wine glasses on the floor, some shattered. Plates of cold, expensive risotto hardening on the table. The whole place smelled of stale wine and Pamela's cloying perfume. It was the wreckage of her perfect party. I didn't clean it. I had a mission. Straight to my study, packed my personal laptop, my hard drives, all my financial files. Then, the safe in our closet. She never could remember the combination. I opened it. Inside was our emergency cash and important documents. I took my passport, my birth certificate, and exactly half of the cash. Not a penny more. I left her things, her money, completely untouched. This wasn't a robbery. This was a separation. Then, I did something a little petty. I'll own that. Pamela had this absurdly expensive Italian espresso machine, a La Marzocco. It was her baby, the star of her Instagram, her symbol of sophisticated living. She loved that thing more than me. I carefully unplugged it, wrapped the cord, and carried it out to my car like I was rescuing a hostage. I grabbed the $30 bag of artisanal coffee beans too. My last stop was the garage. I walked to the breaker box and flipped all the switches back on. I wanted her to come back to a house with power. A house with lights, but I wanted her to see that the key components were missing. Me, and the machine that fueled her mornings. The service provider, you could say, had retired. I was in and out in under 30 minutes. Drove everything to a storage unit I'd rented online, found a new extended stay hotel, and this time I paid with my personal credit card, not the joint one. Lesson learned. Around 1 p.m., the call came. I figured it was time to answer. Justin, where are you? The power is on, but did you come back here? Her voice was suspicious. For a bit, I said calmly. Needed to get some things. A pause. I heard her quick footsteps on the hardwood through the phone. Your things? What are you talking about? All your clothes are here. My important things, Pamela. Another pause. Then a shriek. A raw, genuine shriek of horror. My coffee machine. Where is my coffee machine? Justin, did you take it? What is wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with me, I said, my voice level. I just figured I'm going to need it. Need it for what? She screamed. For my new place. The silence on her end was heavy. You could feel it. New place? You're leaving me because I made a stupid joke at a dinner party? Are you having a breakdown? The gaslighting, the minimizing, right on schedule. No, Pamela, I said, and I let the coldness I felt finally creep into my voice. I'm leaving because you showed me exactly where I stand. You think I'm boring and forgettable, and you announced it to a room full of people. You meant it. It wasn't just a joke. But our life, our house, she sputtered. You have the house for now, I said. I'm going to be speaking to a lawyer to figure out the next steps. I heard her suck in a breath. The word lawyer was like a bucket of ice water. A lawyer? Justin, don't do this. You're just angry. You're overreacting. Come home. We can talk about this. I'll even apologize to Nicole for you ruining her dress. The audacity. It was almost impressive. She still thought I was the one who did something wrong. I don't think you get it, Pamela. Goodbye. I hung up, and then I blocked her number. It was a temporary fix, I knew. Just a small dam against the flood I knew was coming. Update 2. The dam broke. Of course it did. The blocked calls turned into a flood of emails. Her family, her friends, they all started texting me, singing the same song. I was cruel, unstable, throwing away a wonderful marriage over a trivial misunderstanding. Pamela was a master storyteller, and in her version, she was the terrified victim of my sudden emotional breakdown. It took me 3 agonizing days to get a consultation with a good divorce attorney. That whole week was a blur of stress and paperwork. I gathered every financial document I had. The lawyer, a sharp woman named Miss Ruth, listened to my entire story. She didn't react, just watched me, her face unreadable. When I finished, she just nodded once. "Theatrics are common," she said. "Documentation is power." Following her advice, I had her office send an official separation notice to Pamela. It was standard, by the book. It proposed we sell the house, split the assets according to state law. And since she hadn't worked in 5 years, it included a fair proposal for temporary spousal support. This, apparently, was a declaration of war. She found me. I'd made a mistake. Used our joint hotel rewards account to book the first night at the new place. A rookie error. An email notification was all it took. One evening, there's a hard, insistent knock on my door. I look through the peephole. It's her. I opened the door. There was no point in running. "We need to talk," she said, and just pushed past me into the room. "Pamela, this is what lawyers are for." She spun around, her face a mask of pure outrage. "Your lawyer? The one who sent me that insulting piece of trash? Sell the house? Justin, have you completely lost your mind?" "It's a joint asset," I said calmly. "Neither of us can afford it alone. It's the only logical step." "No," she shot back, her voice rising. "It's my home. My life is there. You don't get to destroy my life because you got your little feelings hurt." "My feelings weren't hurt," I said, and my voice was dangerously quiet. My eyes were opened. "There's a big difference." She started pacing, a caged tiger. "I talked to a lawyer too, you know, and she said your behavior is going to look terrible in court. Sneaking out, shutting off the power, stealing things. They'll see you as vindictive and unstable. You think you're being clever, but you're just giving me ammunition." "Stealing?" I asked. "I think my lawyer called it securing an asset of shared marital property." She just waved that away. "I sacrificed my career for you. I built a life for us." "You quit a part-time retail job because you were bored," I said, flatly, "and you built a life for you. I was just the guy paying for it all." The truth hit her like a slap. She actually recoiled. Her tactics shifted. The aggression turned to threats. "You will not take my home. We will go to court, and I will fight you for everything. I will tell them how cold you are, how you had this episode. I will drag this out for years. You'll be broke and miserable before you see a single dime." She was good. I have to admit, she was good. For 1 second, a little tremor of doubt went through me. She could make my life hell. Then she shifted again. The anger vanished. Her eyes welled up with tears. Her voice got soft. "Justin, how can you do this to us? After 10 years, I thought you loved me." It was dizzying. The threats, the self-pity, the guilt, a shotgun blast of manipulation. But the spell was broken. I could see all the strings now. "I think I did," I said, and the honesty of it surprised even me. "But I can't live like that anymore." Her face hardened again. The tears weren't working. She looked around the sterile hotel room, and her eyes landed on my glass of water on the desk. With a furious swipe of her hand, she knocked it to the floor. "Fine. Have fun in your sad little man cave. You will regret this." She stormed out, slamming the door so hard it rattled the frame. I just stood there, looking at the puddle spreading on the cheap carpet. I wasn't happy. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt tired. But I was still standing. Final update. The war Pamela promised was real. The next 6 months were the longest, most exhausting of my life. A slow-motion grind of legal fees, paperwork, and mediation sessions that felt like psychological warfare. Pamela's strategy was just chaos. Throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. They filed motions claiming I was emotionally abusive, using the power outage as their Exhibit A. Her friends, Nicole included, gave these dramatic depositions about my alarming quietness and antisocial tendencies. The claim that I had absconded with a high-value kitchen appliance was a real highlight. It cost me $500 in legal fees just to respond to that. But Pamela made a fatal mistake. She thought she could charm and manipulate the legal system itself. She just couldn't grasp that a judge doesn't care about her feelings. A judge cares about evidence. And I had years of it. The real battle was fought in these cold, sterile mediation rooms. I'd just sit there, quiet and calm, while Pamela alternated between crying and making accusations. My lawyer, Miss Ruth, was a rock. She just kept presenting the facts. Spreadsheets, financials showing my income versus her spending, credit card statements, thousands and thousands spent on parties, clothes, brunches. My alarming quietness started to look a lot like stability next to her constant drama. The nail in the coffin was the house. She refused to sell, called it her sanctuary. So as part of the discovery process, my lawyer subpoenaed her recent bank records. And the picture they painted was, well, it was damning. We were all sitting around this polished table for our third mediation session. Miss Ruth slid a bank statement across to the mediator. Miss, Pamela's last name, the mediator said, looking over her glasses. It appears the mortgage has not been paid for the last 3 months. Can you explain why? Pamela was flustered. I've been under extreme emotional distress. It's been hard to manage everything. Ms. Ruth slid another statement across the table. A credit card bill. It seems, she said, her voice dry as dust, that while you were unable to manage the $2,800 mortgage payment, you were able to manage a $3,500 weekend spa trip with your friend Nicole and the purchase of a new handbag. Pamela turned beet red. She started sputtering about self-care and maintaining appearances. But it was over. The damage was done. I watched the mediator, this no-nonsense woman who had clearly seen it all, look at Pamela with just this expression of profound disappointment. That was it. That was the moment the war was lost. Faced with a judge forcing a sale anyway and garnishing her half to cover the missed payments, she finally agreed to settle. There was no big, triumphant courtroom victory. The house was sold. After paying off the mortgage, the lawyers, the taxes, we each walked away with a respectable chunk of money, but not life-changing. The court ordered me to pay her spousal support for 2 years. Not the decade she wanted. It's not a perfect storybook ending. I'm in a smaller, rented apartment now. The legal battle took a huge bite out of my savings. I lost friends, people who chose to believe her narrative. My relationship with her family is just a crater. Pamela, she's in a trendy downtown apartment that her alimony and a new part-time job barely cover. Her Instagram is still a highlight reel of brunches and nights out, but I hear things. Her circle is smaller now that she doesn't have a big house to host parties in. And the espresso machine? It's still in my storage unit. I can't bring myself to use it. Can't bring myself to sell it. It feels like a relic from another life. A trophy from a war I never wanted to fight. But this morning I was making coffee. Just a simple drip machine. The sun was coming through the window of my own quiet kitchen. There were no expectations, no performances to put on, no one to impress. There was no one around to call me boring. And in that quiet, peaceful, boring moment, I realized I was finally free. And that, turns out, is a luxury no amount of money can ever buy.